Hello everyone and welcome to W18, the Watford fan channel, for another transfer news video. A lot to talk about today, a lot of rumours will be coming out in and out of Watford Football Club. Before we get into it, make sure you do subscribe. As you can see, the subscriber count is around here. So if you can subscribe, it can go up or down. So share the channel around with your friends, other Watford fans, friends and family. That'd be much appreciated as we look ahead to the Woking game on Sunday, as it says, someone unsubscribed. But yeah, no, a lot of transfer news today to talk about. We'll kick it off with the big bit of news, and that is Roberto Pereyra. Now, according to Tutto Sport, a local Turin-based newspaper company, they've stated that Walter Mazzari's, the former Watford manager Walter Mazzari's Torino are looking to sign Roberto Pereyra next summer, not in January. Let's just make that perfectly clear. Not in January, next summer. Watford want reportedly 20 million euros, which I think is far too less, but I'll go on to that in a moment. Torino are prepared to offer Vittorio Perugini. I don't know of the player, but he's another, he's a 24-year-old midfielder. But the main thing coming out of this report, that Tutto Sport claims that Pereyra wants to compete in cups and is not sure that he can fulfil those ambitions at Watford. I believe this is agent talk, and it's an attempt by Roberto Pereyra to get a new deal. Now, everyone knows that Roberto Pereyra was angling for a move in the last summer. Torino were interested. Well, I say Pereyra angled for a move. Torino were interested, and he was up for a move back to Italy, obviously formerly at Juventus. And he wanted to go back to Italy. He liked the lifestyle. We mentioned that in a few interviews. But Pereyra's contract runs out in 2021, so he's planning his future. Watford won't want to let him go on the last year of his contract because he could go for peanuts. So it's kind of going over a crossroad at the moment. Do Watford sell for 20 million euros and sell him 2 years before his contract ends? Or do they sell him in a year's time when his price will obviously go down because he's going into his last 12 months of his contract? It's a tough one to call. I think it's definitely agent talk, the fact that Pereyra wants to compete in cups. Torino won the Europa League at the moment. They're being the equivalent competition in Italy. They are pushing for Europa League, but so are we. I don't really buy into that from the agent, really. I think it's absolute rubbish. But I do think the rumours definitely got some substance to it, because there was definitely rumours coming out into the summer that Torino were interested in Roberto Pereyra. Moving on to another potential outgoing, and that is one that is going to happen. Medical rumoured to be on Monday, and that is Stefano Okaka. He's been rumoured to make the move to the other Pozzo-owned club, Udinese. Stefano hasn't been playing a lot of football. Gracia doesn't fancy him, and I'll go on to a quote by Gracia about the striker situation at the moment. But Stefano has completed a move to Udinese from what I've been reading. Deal is a loan with an option to buy, which is pretty irrelevant either way, because obviously with the Pozzos owning both clubs, it doesn't really matter. But this has been reported by Denis, arguably the most reliable source in Italy and Sky Italia. Medical, as I said, will be on Monday. Deal is a loan with an option to buy. How do I feel about this one? I'm not too bothered. I think Stefano Okaka at best was an impact player for about 10 minutes. He used to bully defenders, let's put it that way, but he could only last 45 minutes at max. But I'll always remember him for those two games, one at home to Liverpool in the 3-3 draw last season, and also when he came in for his first start, I believe, against Everton, where he scored that brilliant flick and scored a header from a corner where we won 3-2. Under Walter Mazzari. So he's making the move over to Udinese. I think that's the first time he's gone back to Italy since he left Sampdoria. So obviously as an Italian himself, he'll be very delighted about that one. We'll move on to more of the positive news. Well, you could argue Okaka is a positive one. But Denis Suárez, this is one that's been rumoured by Sport, a big Spanish media outlet. They've put out the claim that Watford, West Ham and Everton are all interested in signing Denis Suárez, the Barcelona midfielder. He's 24 years of age, played 46 games for Barcelona. They bought him from Villarreal, where he had a really successful period. Played around 150 games in his career. Still young, still only 24. He's looking for a move. Barcelona are looking for a move. They want around 10 million euros for Denis Suárez, which is a really interesting thing about this one. Not a big price for someone who has, I believe, got a lot of quality. Barcelona want to free up the wage bill. They want to free up another space in the squad so they can bring someone else in. They've had financial issues over the last couple of years. So they're looking to get that one, well, looking to get Denis Suárez out the door and a couple of other players who are on the fringe at Barcelona at the moment. Would I take him at Watford? I don't think a midfielder is a priority, but a player of his talent, you're not going to turn it down. He's definitely a player who would fit in really, really nicely at Watford. I mean, the big players that have, big teams have been interested, the likes of Arsenal, I think Chelsea have as well. So the guy has got quality, and I've seen him at Barcelona and Villarreal, and he's a real player. So look out for that one. That's been reported by Sport in Spain. We move on to another midfielder, central midfielder, Stanislav Lobotka. He's emerged as a target for Watford. He's a Celta Vigo central midfielder, plays for the Slovakian national team as well. The Spanish clubs are listening to offers around 30 million euros. It's rumoured to be a replacement for Abdoulaye Doucouré, whether he does go in January or he goes in the summer. Gracia's claimed in the press conference today ahead of Woking that he doesn't think he will be leaving and assumes he's not going to be leaving in January. Doucouré wasn't happy when he got subbed off at Bournemouth. I think there was a little bit of an ego there from Abdoulaye. I didn't really agree with it at all, but Gracia made the right change to take him off, especially on the yellow card. But this has been rumoured to be a replacement for Abdoulaye Doucouré. Stanislav Lobotka, he's been one of the best players, best kind of from the lower teams in La Liga. Obviously, you've got the Real Madrids, your Barcelonas. But he's been playing really well for Celta Vigo. Everton are also interested. PSG are interested as well. So it's kind of becoming a triangle system or a full circle with this Doucouré deal, because if Doucouré goes to PSG, we'll probably go in for Lobotka. Or if PSG go in for Lobotka, then Doucouré will stay with Watford. So interested to see how that one will progress. For sure, that has been reported from Le 10 Sport or Le 10 Sport, however you want to say it. It's a French media outlet. And then we go on to some really interesting quotes from Javi Gracia. And just on the striker situation, before we get into that quote, obviously Dominic Solanke, someone I was talking about in yesterday's episode, has gone to Bournemouth for £19 million plus add-ons, which I'm so glad we pulled out of that one. That is a ridiculous price for someone who hasn't really proved himself in English football. Granted, he had a decent spell away at VT's Armand, but it's the Dutch league, it's the Eredivisie. A lot of players would do well. But no disrespect to Bournemouth fans, but my God, that £19 million, that's excluding add-ons as well. It's a big purchase from Eddie outside, but we're not here to talk about Bournemouth. We're here to talk about Watford. And the Watford manager and Watford head coach, Javi Gracia, has made his comments on the striker situation at the club when asked would he be making any signings now Stefano Okaka has effectively left the club. He admitted that Stefano is 95% of the way there to his move to Udinese. And he went on to say, and I'll just read the quote out, "I don't expect anyone to be arriving. We have strikers such as Troy, Gerrard, Isaac, Andre Gray's recovering, Pereyra as well, and others can play in this position. I'm not expecting any new players just because Stefano is leaving." So, disappointing, I think, with Gracia. You can see the real contrast. I was speaking to fans at the game against Bournemouth and the coach, and you can see the contrast between Javi Gracia and Marco Silva. Marco Silva was up in arms when Nordin Amrabat got sent out alone. But Javi Gracia really does knuckle down, gets on with it. He knows the Watford system. He doesn't have an issue with it, which is good. But I also think he should be demanding a striker, because I think his side and the way he sets up his side are a top quality striker away from pushing for that 7th Europa League spot seriously. Now, we are at the moment, I'm not saying we're out of it, but to really dominate that part of the league, I believe we do need a top quality centre-half and we need a top quality striker. So it'll be interesting to see if there are any movements on that striker situation. Those quotes from Gracia suggest that no one will be coming in at the moment and in this January transfer window, which in a way I have an issue with and I also don't have an issue with. Might sound a little bit odd, but on the one hand, I'm thinking we do need a striker in, but at the same time, I'm thinking let's not just get a striker for the sake of it. Let's not just get a striker because we feel we have to. And now, when I mean by that, I mean we should be scouting for the best striker to suit Javi's system, not just a striker that we believe could do a job for 6 months, someone for long term, and someone who can last the whole season, be a real mainstay in this Watford side. So that is pretty much it for the roundup. I'll have a little check of your comments. Let's have a little look at your comments. We'll start from the Jacob, give us a wave, hello. Cheese AirPods, Jacob Ballin. Yeah, got them for Christmas. Good for you. Should we let Pereyra go? Yeah, I was going to touch on it and I was going to talk about Roberto Pereyra. I would let Pereyra go in the summer. but not for 20 million euros for sure. I think that's far too cheap for someone who's getting into his prime years, I think, and someone who's playing some good football. He has been a bit anonymous in the last few games, but I think Roberto Pereyra is our star man, or someone who's got that one bit of quality, could just turn a game on its head. So I think I would not be selling Roberto Pereyra for 20 million euros. That's far too cheap for my liking. And when you do the conversion to pounds, it's only about 17.5. So no, I wouldn't sell him yet. There is no way Pereyra is going. Not in January, I believe, from what I was gathering from the sources. I don't think he will be leaving in January. Any suggestions for strikers? I've said all along I'd take Divock Origi, by the way, on loan to the end of the season to do a job. But I'd prefer if we got someone permanently in the summer. 30 million for some random, or telling me for Denis Suárez. I'd say, Ollie, it's 30 million for some randomer that you haven't heard of, 10 million for Denis Suárez. I'll be honest, I haven't heard of that player. But I don't think we can make a judgment of someone just because we haven't heard of them. That's, I think, we've learned from that with the Potsos. Sometimes you get some absolute stinkers, and at the same time you get some absolute, you get some gems. I mean, there's numerous examples, to be honest with you. So I would say I agree that the price, the 30 million, I doubt Watford would spend that much on a central midfielder. That is not the way the Potsos system sets up. But I would reserve judgments before you've seen him play. And number two, just because you haven't heard of them. I do the same, but I think we've learnt from the Potso's time at the club that we can't do that. What else? Has Okaka's transfer gone through? Monday it should be all confirmed. We do need a striker. Play with Will Hughes, a striker, not my... Stefan Jovetic, not a bad shout from WD25 Hornet. Andre Gray needs to go, 8.5 million, absolute. Wait, while I'm here, what's the worst deal? Slanky to Bournemouth for 90 million, Andre Gray to Watford for 18.5. I'm not too sure. I'd probably say Solanke, because I haven't seen much of him. Origi is a shout. Munir of Barcelona, very good shout. So yeah, Solanke worse. That is about it. Thank you very much for watching the transfer episode number 2 of this January transfer window. Probably one will be coming up tomorrow. We've also got a match preview ahead of the Woking game on Sunday, so make sure you do check that out. And yeah, hopefully Watford do bring in a couple of players before the transfer window ends, and we will see you in the next.